How could I have foreseen that instant would change the trajectory of my existence forever? It was merely an unremarkable day until I entered that room, where the door was slightly open. A feeling deep inside began to awaken. In just a heartbeat, I could have turned away, opted to overlook it. However, I chose not to. In that moment, as I took in the truth surrounding me, I realized that everything had irrevocably changed. Indeed, I carried the weight of responsibility, for I was the one who set it in motion and the one who could not bring it to a stop. George was at work, the house wrapped in a shroud of silence, yet I could perceive distant sounds drifting in from an unknown source. In the quiet of the upstairs, Elliot found himself in the solitude of his room. At first I didn't think much of it, a fleeting glimpse of a young man adrift in the depths of his own imagination. Yet, it's possible that he might enjoy a cup of coffee. A brief exchange could be quite pleasant. With each step I took up the stairs, I strained to identify the source of the sounds echoing around me. As I approached his room, I observed that the door was slightly open. I inhaled deeply, ready to call out to him, but then my gaze fell upon Elliot. He sat on his bed, the laptop resting on his lap, its bright screen illuminating his face with a soft glow. His hands were moving, and at first I believed I was merely observing an exhilarating scene, perhaps from an action film. Yet, as I adjusted my stance, a haunting awareness enveloped me. A chill coursed through me as I grasped the reality of what Elliot was up to. The image on the screen captured my focus, and a chilling sensation washed over me. This was an unexpected discovery, one I had not desired to behold. Elliot stumbled, striving to restore his calm, quickly turning down the volume on his laptop, but it was in vain. The moment had already unfolded beyond his control. As our eyes met, his cheeks turned a deep shade of red, the embarrassment clear in his gaze. Inarguable. I apologize, he murmured, averting his gaze. I found myself immobilized, as if time had stopped around me. The door loomed before me, and I began to speak, yet the words eluded me, leaving me in a haze of uncertainty. A peculiar warmth enveloped my being. Embarrassment washed over me, yet my thoughts surged like a torrent, elusive and just out of reach. I hurriedly exited the room, my heart racing within my chest. I pressed my hands against my face, seeking to calm my breath. What on earth was that? I softly murmured to myself. What had I just accomplished? What had led me to such recklessness? Was I truly the sole one to blame in this situation? Cease this, Darlene. I scolded myself, but the chaos inside me was sparked by something deeper than simple observation. Elliot had reached the age of 23, stepping firmly into adulthood, while I found myself at 47, a woman who had carried the burden of shame for far too long. This moment was unprecedented for me, yet I recognized the familiar sting of shame. I found myself frozen in the hallway, my heart racing, as I nervously combed my fingers through my hair, seeking to gather my thoughts. In that moment, Elliot stepped into the doorway, his fingers deftly smoothing the collar of his shirt. He cleared his throat, a subtle gesture, and purposefully averted his eyes from mine. Darlene, I find myself in a position of regret, and I apologize. I thought I had closed the door, he said, his voice wavering yet sincere. I swiftly averted my gaze, shaking my head in denial. I must admit, I find myself in the position of needing to apologize. I should have knocked before entering, I exclaimed in a rush, uncertain of what more to add. The stillness wrapped around us, yet it was far from an ordinary stillness. For years, we had shared the same house, but never before had we exchanged glances like this. Never had such a palpable tension hung in the air between us. I decided it was time to head downstairs and begin the preparations for dinner, swiftly pivoting towards the stairs. My voice quivered, but I struggled to keep my poise intact. Elliot held his silence, his eyes locked onto mine, as though he were assembling a complex puzzle in his thoughts, anticipating the pivotal moments that were about to transpire between us. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications, and listen to this story until the end. Rest assured, an exhilarating journey is on the horizon. Up until that evening, our silence was profound. We shared no words, no texts, no glances, and not even the faintest hint of small talk. Yet, within that silence lay the echoes of an unchangeable transformation. During dinner, we shared the same table, but our eyes stayed deliberately turned away from each other. The only sound was the clinking of cutlery against our plates, a poignant reminder of the unvoiced thoughts that lingered in the atmosphere. We found ourselves in a moment where conversation was essential to unravel the tension that surrounded us, a reality we both acknowledged yet struggled to face. As the night faded into the horizon, it was soon replaced by the dawn of yet another day, and then yet another followed in its wake. All seemed well, but hidden beneath the facade, reality was far from what it appeared. The quiet between us grew heavier, widening the unseen chasm that separated our hearts. Then, one afternoon, Elliot took a seat beside me. I noticed the uncertainty dancing in his gaze, yet it was clear that he longed to bridge the divide. Darlene. In light of the recent incident, a profound sense of embarrassment enveloped me. It was never my plan for events to take this turn. I sincerely wish this won't put our relationship at risk. His voice quivered, yet it held a depth of sincerity that struck a chord within me. I took a deep breath, aware of the oddity of the moment, yet resolute in my intention to alleviate his unease. I flashed a smile, gave a slight shrug, and said, "Oh, Elliot, believe me, I've experienced my fair share of embarrassing moments throughout the years." I shared some of those moments, observing his smile gently fade into a look of comprehension as he nodded along. His embarrassment began to wane, and in that instant, it seemed as if the weight of the tension between us had dissipated. Yet, beneath the surface, I grasped that nothing had genuinely transformed. Even with the facade of progress, this dialogue had shattered the barriers that previously kept us apart, and I could feel it. Tension was mounting, ready to erupt. Elliot released a gentle laugh, his eyes drifting down to the table. "I guess we're even now," he said quietly. I furrowed my brow and glanced at him, a hint of intrigue lacing my words. "What do you mean?" I inquired with curiosity, and his demeanor changed, as though he had suddenly grasped the profound weight of his own words. He rubbed the back of his neck, hesitating for a moment, yet the momentum had already carried him forward, leaving him no choice but to press on. With a deep breath, he turned his eyes away and whispered, "I've perceived you in that light too. You just weren't aware of it." A jolt of energy surged within me, rendering me motionless. "What is happening?" I murmured, the heaviness of his words bearing down on me. Elliot's face flushed as he pressed on. "I never shared this with you because I was too." The weight of embarrassment lingered, yet it stayed etched in my memory, my little secret, an indelible thought that would not fade away. My heart raced. A strange warmth surrounded me, a feeling that indicated a change was coming. Elliot's words went beyond simple admission. They shattered every wall that had previously stood between us. Our eyes locked, and in that moment, a silent connection flowed between us. This was not just a simple interaction. The air was charged, and everything shifted. From that instant onwards, our reality was altered forever. A chasm had always existed between us, an unseen barrier that separated our worlds. Yet now it appeared that the boundary had dissolved, unnoticed by either of us. I discovered that I was increasingly drawn to the fleeting instances with Elliot, those seemingly trivial exchanges that, in reality, only heightened the underlying tension between us. We found ourselves sitting side by side to enjoy films, a vivid shift from the separation we had previously upheld. In that moment, an invisible force lingered between us, a sensation both intense and unrecognized. At times, as Elliot rested his arm on the couch and my hand accidentally brushed against his leg, or when our laughter mingled in the air, an unfamiliar sensation began to awaken inside me, though I made an effort to suppress it. One night, sleep slipped through my fingers like sand as I tossed and turned in bed, the restlessness gnawing at my insides. There was only one thought consuming me: this couldn't continue. I found it essential to set a clear boundary. If he had any feelings for me, it was necessary to address it head-on and bring it to a close. With that determination, I got out of bed, my heart pounding fiercely, and before I knew it, my feet had taken me to Elliot's door. The door to his room stood slightly open, a soft glow seeping through and creating playful shadows that flickered across the floor. Upon entering, my eyes were drawn to him. He lay there, lost in slumber. In that instant, however, my focus shifted, captivated by something of great importance. My breath caught in my throat, and my body became still, ensnared in a tempest of feelings. Witnessing him in that vulnerable state ignited a tempest within me. I knew I should have turned back, should have retreated from the scene, but I remained rooted in place for a few seconds, grappling with the tumult of feelings swirling inside me. Then I withdrew, sensing a power inside me that eluded my understanding. I attempted to push it down, yet I found myself unable to disregard the sensation. I returned to my room and lay down, but everything felt different now. That night, I was blissfully unaware of the intricate twists and turns that lay ahead. Regardless of my efforts, I found myself unable to deny the deepening bond with Elliot. As the days unfolded, the lines between us faded more and more, and the attraction grew stronger. It was a gradual shift, almost imperceptible, yet here we were, and one truth stood out amidst the chaos. Turning back was becoming impossible when Elliot arrived home, stumbling in with the unmistakable signs of intoxication. The door creaked ominously as he pushed through, knocking over various items in his path. The resulting cacophony of sounds loomed dangerously close to rousing George from his slumber. Nevertheless, I grasped the effort it required for him to rise, prompting me to quickly leave my room and make my way to Elliot. In an instant, I was by his side, my disheveled attire a mere afterthought in the whirlwind of the moment. His eyes wandered, a subtle smile playing at the corners of his mouth. "Darlene, are you real?" he murmured, his voice heavy with the fog of drink, but tinged with genuine emotion. I took a deep breath, holding onto his arm tightly. "Elliot, please, you can't head upstairs like this." "We must be quietly." Elliot's eyes were locked onto my face, a gentle smile playing on his lips as his gaze drifted across me. "You know you're really beautiful. Have you always been this way? Or did I just never notice?" I paused, momentarily taken aback, but swiftly collected myself. "Elliot, that's enough. Step into the kitchen. I'll make you some coffee." I guided him gently to the kitchen, trying to anchor him back to the present moment. Yet, with Elliot's intense gaze and his words, something deep within me started to come apart. He sank into a chair, the air heavy with unvoiced tension. While I was engrossed in preparing the coffee, an unforeseen incident took place. As his fingers lost their hold, the cup tumbled, its contents cascading over the counter in a chaotic spill. Elliot, you need to be more careful," I murmured, hastily attempting to tidy the chaos. Yet, he merely offered a gentle smile. "Were you always this sweet?" I reflected, as I rushed to bring back harmony in the kitchen. We could not remain in this place for an extended period. George lay quietly upstairs, and given Elliot's state, we needed to keep any additional disruptions to a minimum. "Okay, we're heading upstairs, but I need you to be quiet," I warned, intertwining my arm with his and leading him towards the staircase. Upon entering his room, I observed his movements becoming more and more unsteady. He needed to change his clothes, but he seemed too disoriented to do it by himself. For a moment, I thought about leaving, but when I saw him grappling with his shirt, I felt a strong urge to step in and help him. As my fingers grazed the buttons of his shirt, I noticed Elliot's breathing begin to slow. The atmosphere around us grew heavy with an unspoken tension, each breath we took echoing in the stillness that enveloped us, heightening the intensity of our connection. I was keenly aware of my actions, yet at the same time, I felt adrift in the haze of uncertainty. Elliot's gaze shifted, and I could feel a transformation in the way he regarded me. This was one of those moments, a moment forever beyond our reach. Elliot paused mid-change, his hands dropping to his sides as our gazes met. In that moment, I felt the rush of my own breath quickening. The silence wrapped around us, the atmosphere in the room heavy and stifling, making it difficult to inhale. "I'm not playing this game anymore, Darlene," he declared, his voice gentle yet filled with conviction. I fixed my gaze on him, my heart pounding in my chest. What was Elliot attempting to express? "Are you?" he went on, his voice fading away. As we immersed ourselves in the moment, our gazes met for a brief instant, and that was enough. "You may brush it aside, but I understand it haunts your mind as you fall asleep." A chill ran through me, urging a slight withdrawal, yet my feet stayed firmly planted on the ground. "Elliot, this isn't right," I managed to utter, my voice trembling with uncertainty. He offered a slight smile, one that lacked innocence, a reminder that we had long since crossed the threshold of right and wrong. "Darlene, stop lying to yourself," he urged, stepping closer, inch by inch, until the air between us crackled with unspoken tension. The closeness struck me with a sense of urgency. We needed to establish firm boundaries. He reached up, his fingers brushing against the air. I found myself unable to avert my gaze, for beneath it all, I recognized the truth in his words. In that instant, we experienced a peculiar misunderstanding, retreating swiftly, both of us flushed with embarrassment. The silence hung heavy, the tension palpable. Within that fleeting moment lay the key to it all. The thoughts that once reverberated in my mind fell silent, my doubts dissolving into mere whispers, for I had not resisted Elliot. The reality was that I had never wished to. My hands shook, yet I remained steadfast, unwilling to retreat. As I caught the fierce resolve in Elliot's gaze, it became clear that all pretense had vanished. I inhaled deeply, then swiftly averted my eyes, understanding that we both required distance and time to find our bearings. "You're right, Elliot," I murmured, my voice scarcely above a whisper. "Let's not play this game any longer." As I closed the distance between us, I lay back on the bed, my heart racing, fully aware that there was no turning back. Elliot leaned over me, his gaze meeting mine for a brief moment before a smile broke across his face. "Don't be afraid," he said, his voice enveloping me in warmth and reassurance. "Everything is right." I looked away, a shiver coursing through me. Even if I couldn't admit it to myself, I recognized how long I had been waiting for this moment. Yet I couldn't prevent the words from escaping my lips. "Elliot, I'm feeling a bit frightened," I admitted, my breath unsteady from a few weighty matters. Elliot smiled, dismissing my words with a lightness that suggested he reveled in my openness. It might have been the drink that gave him the courage he needed. He leaned in, his breath warm against my ear as he whispered softly, "George mustn't wake up." The weight of that statement settled over me, a reminder of the uncharted territory we were treading. A profound silence wrapped around me, a deep well of emotion that swelled within, urging me to suppress any noise that might break the stillness. Elliot's eyes locked onto mine, and his voice carried a weight that lingered in the air. "I know, darling Lou, everything is great, and so are you." But what was the depth of his understanding? Maybe he perceived the chaos lurking just below my exterior. As I stood there, I felt an undeniable surge of emotion wash over me. I closed my eyes and tightened my grip, struggling to quell the intense turmoil brewing within. I pressed my hand against my lips, striving to calm my breath and quell the turmoil within, fighting to suppress the noise that yearned to escape. Elliot, enveloped in his haze, appeared unaware of the significance of the moment, though it pressed down on me with great intensity. A rush of excitement mingled with a multitude of feelings, an unmistakable aura of significance enveloping the moment. Elliot, in a state of inebriation, weariness, and breathlessness, captured my attention. "Elliot, you're flushed, and we need to move," I urged. He nodded, as if in agreement, yet pressed on, seemingly unaware of the urgency surrounding us. A new wave of contraction swept over me, and everything around me blurred into obscurity. I felt detached from my own identity. With my eyes closed, I murmured, "Elliot, you must take a moment to rest. Let's avoid hasty choices." His response was one of relief, as he let go completely, abandoning all reservations. The intensity inside me was all-consuming. I gently placed Elliot in his bed, wrapping him snugly in the covers before quietly closing the bedroom door behind me. A yearning for solitude enveloped me, as I sought the calming embrace of a shower to cleanse the weight of tension from my being. The recent events echoed in my mind, igniting a blend of anxiety and discomfort. As the water poured down, a sense of understanding started to emerge within me. Oddly enough, a feeling of tranquility began to surround me. My body reflected the serenity of my thoughts. Clad in quietude, I advanced or I retreated to my sanctuary, surrendering to slumber as though the outside realm had faded into oblivion. Yet beneath the surface, a storm gathered, a momentary excitement, a wave of unrestrained desire. Yet existence seldom reveals itself in straightforwardness, and this instance was no different. The journey had just commenced. The currents of destiny were in motion, and soon George would unveil the reality that lay hidden. This tale is far from its conclusion. Keep your eyes peeled and hit that subscribe button so you're always aware of what's coming next. Turn on notifications and express your opinions. It ensures you remain at the forefront of this evolving story. Your support means the world to me, and if you've traveled alongside me to this moment, I sincerely thank you for your presence.